The fluorescent lights of the emergency room buzzed like angry wasps overhead as Sarah pressed her trembling fingers against the glass partition, watching the nurses rush past with clipboards and IV bags. Her daughter, Emma, lay somewhere beyond those swinging doors, and Sarah had never felt so helpless in her entire life. The word meningitis kept echoing in her skull, bouncing off the walls of her mind like a rubber ball she couldn't catch. 3 hours ago, Emma had been laughing at breakfast. Now Sarah couldn't even hold her hand. She had $247 in her checking account. The ER admission alone would cost thousands. Her insurance had lapsed. 2 months ago, when she'd chosen between the premium, payment, and keeping the electricity on. Standing there in her waitress uniform, smelling of coffee and maple syrup, Sarah felt the weight of every wrong turn, every missed opportunity, every sacrifice that had led to this moment pressing down on her shoulders like a physical thing. "Mrs. Chen?" A nurse appeared at her elbow, clipboard in hand. "We need you to fill out some paperwork." Sarah took the forms with numb fingers, her eyes scanning words that blurred together. Emergency contact, insurance information, payment method. How do you tell a stranger that you're drowning? That you've been treading water so long your legs have gone numb? She found a plastic chair in the corner and began filling out the forms, her handwriting shaky. When she reached the insurance section, she paused, pen hovering over the empty box. A shadow fell across the paper. "Excuse me." The voice was soft, gentle. "I couldn't help but notice you've been standing there for a while. Is everything okay?" Sarah looked up into the face of a woman about her age, maybe a few years older, with kind eyes and silver threading through her dark hair. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, nothing remarkable, but there was something about her presence that made Sarah's carefully constructed walls begin to crack. "My daughter," Sarah heard herself say, and then the words came tumbling out like water through a broken dam. "She's sick. Really sick, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I don't know how I'm going to save her." The woman sat down beside her, not too close, respecting her space. "What's your daughter's name?" "Emma, she's 7. Sarah's voice broke. "She wants to be a veterinarian. She saves bugs instead of killing them. She puts them outside in little containers and tells them to have a good life." The tears came then, hot and fast, and Sarah couldn't stop them. "I'm sorry. I don't even know you. I'm Rachel." The woman offered a tissue from her purse. "And you don't need to apologize for being human." They sat in silence for a moment, the chaos of the ER swirling around them like a river around a rock. Sarah wiped her eyes, embarrassed by her outburst, but Rachel just sat there, steady and calm. "I lost my daughter when she was 8, Rachel said quietly. "Car accident. Drunk driver. It's been 5 years, but some days it feels like yesterday." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have—" "You're exactly where you should be," Rachel interrupted gently. "Fighting for your daughter. Loving her so much it hurts. That's what we do." She paused, looking at the paperwork in Sarah's lap. "How much do you need?" Sarah blinked. "What?" "For the hospital." "How much do you need?" "I can't. No, I couldn't possibly." Rachel pulled out her phone. "My daughter's name was Sophie. Before she died, we'd started a fund for her college. She wanted to study marine biology. Save the oceans, she used to say." Her fingers moved across the screen. "The money's just sitting there." Sophie would have wanted it to help someone. She would have liked Emma, I think. The bug-saving thing, Sophie would have loved that. "You don't even know me," Sarah whispered. "I know you're a mother who loves her daughter. I know you're scared. I know you're standing in that horrible place between hope and despair, and I know what it's like to wish someone had thrown you a rope." Rachel looked at her directly. "Let me throw you a rope, Sarah, please. You'll be doing me a favor, honestly. You'll be helping me turn my grief into something good." Sarah couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The kindness was too much, too overwhelming. Rachel typed on her phone for another minute, then showed Sarah the screen. "This is my bank's transfer app. What's your email?" The numbers Rachel entered made Sarah's vision swim. $10,000. Enough to cover the ER, the specialists, the medication, the follow-up care. Enough to breathe again. "I can't accept this," Sarah managed, even as her heart screamed at her to take it, save Emma. "Yes, you can. And you will. Because Emma needs you to be strong right now. Not drowning in paperwork and panic." Rachel hit send. There, it's done. Check your email. Sarah's phone buzzed. The notification appeared like a miracle. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. Why? She asked, tears streaming down her face again. Why would you do this for a stranger? Rachel's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Because a year after Sophie died, I was in a grocery store. And I had a complete breakdown in the cereal aisle. Just lost it. And this woman, this complete stranger, she just hugged me, stood there in the middle of the store and held me while I sobbed. She didn't know me, didn't know my story. But she saw someone in pain and she reached out. Rachel smiled softly. She told me that kindness doesn't need a reason. It just needs a moment and a willing heart. Mrs. Chen? A doctor appeared in scrubs, mask pulled down around his neck. Emma's asking for you. The antibiotics are already working. She's going to be fine. Sarah's legs nearly gave out. Rachel steadied her, a hand on her elbow. Go, Rachel said. Go be with your daughter. Sarah turned back at the door to the treatment area. Rachel was still sitting there, watching her with that gentle smile. Sarah mouthed, "Thank you," knowing the words were inadequate, knowing nothing would ever be adequate. Emma looked so small in the hospital bed, but her eyes were open, and when she saw Sarah, she smiled weakly. "Hi, Mom." Sarah gathered her daughter into her arms, careful of the IV line, and breathed in the scent of her hair. "Hi, baby." "I'm here." "I'm right here." "There was a nice lady in the waiting room," Emma murmured, already drowsy from the medication. "She said to tell you that Sophie says hi." Sarah's heart stopped. She hadn't mentioned Sophie's name to Emma. Rachel had told Sarah about Sophie while Emma was already back in the treatment area. "What lady, honey?" "The one with the nice smile. She said she was glad you met her mom." Emma's eyes drifted closed. "She said we're going to be okay." Sarah rushed back to the waiting room, but Rachel was gone. She asked the nurse at the desk, had she seen a woman in a blue sweater? Dark hair with silver? The nurse shook her head. Been on shift for 6 hours, hadn't seen anyone matching that description. Sarah checked her phone. The bank transfer was real. $10,000. But when she looked at the sender's name, her breath caught. The account was listed under Sophie's Hope Fund, and the attached message read, "From one mother to another. Pass it forward when you can." She tried to search for Rachel, for Sophie's Hope Fund, for any trace of the woman who'd saved them. Nothing. No social media accounts. No charity registrations. No news articles about a little girl named Sophie who'd died 5 years ago. But the money was real. Emma's recovery was real. And as Sarah sat beside her daughter's bed that night, watching her sleep peacefully, she understood that some miracles don't come with explanations. Some angels don't need wings. 3 years later, Sarah stood in a different emergency room waiting area. She'd gone back to school, become a registered nurse, and now worked in the same ER where Emma had been saved. She spotted a young father in the corner, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. She recognized the posture of desperation. "Excuse me," she said, gently approaching him. "Is everything okay?" The story that tumbled out was different but the same. Sick child. No insurance. Crushing fear. Sarah listened, then pulled out her phone. Sophie's Hope Fund had grown over the years. Every extra dollar Sarah could spare, she added to it. She'd helped 7 families so far. "Let me help," she said, and watched hope bloom in his eyes like spring after winter. As she made the transfer, she felt it. A warmth. Like sunshine on her shoulders. Like someone standing just behind her, smiling. She didn't turn around. She didn't need to. "Pass it forward," she told the father, echoing words she'd received 3 years ago. "That's all I ask. When you can, help someone else. Keep it going, because that's what love does. It multiplies. It echoes. It never really dies, it just changes form, flowing from heart to heart, stranger to stranger, moment to moment." Emma was 10 now, still saving bugs, still dreaming of being a veterinarian. And sometimes, when the light hit just right, Sarah swore she could see 2 little girls playing together in the backyard. One dark-haired and one blonde, both laughing, both exactly where they were supposed to be. Her, the woman in the waiting room. The angel with the kind eyes, the mother who turned grief into grace. Sarah never found her again, but she carried her forward every single day, in every act of kindness, in every moment of mercy. Because that's the thing about humanity. We're not meant to carry our burdens alone. We're meant to share them, lighten them, transform them into something beautiful. One stranger, one moment, one act of love at a time. The fluorescent lights still buzz overhead. The ER never really sleeps. But now when Sarah walks through those halls, she doesn't just see illness and fear. She sees opportunities. Chances to be someone's Rachel. Chances to prove that even in our darkest moments, we're never truly alone. And sometimes, late at night, when she's helping another desperate parent, another frightened soul, she hears it, soft as a whisper. Clear as a bell, Sophie says hi. Then she smiles and keeps going. Because that's what love does. It keeps going, forever.